If you want to be my friend, come on, you had better go and get a pen.
She knows it.
Why? Maybe we can keep in touch. You do know it. We did in the old days. It wasn't so long ago. And I wish you well. Oh, sign your pen pals. Rose, that is the moment.
Harmonizing.
That was great at the end.
I know the terms.
I wondered when you were going to really
you
come
like
in
that?
and you saved it.
Yeah.
You waited. That's the moment right there that all of our guests then recalculate if they were like, wait, why did I say yes to this podcast? They just put me on the spot right out of the gate.
Love the ring light. That's what I'm all about. The
And
ring
then
light
we got
here.
these lights
The
up.
The beauty light.
This is what we've worked 3.5 years for. These ring lights.
They're not
These
cheap.
cameras.
Oh, actually, are they
this
cheap?
pen pal sign. This is the first
I know.
that
Look.
someone is seeing this, perhaps.
What?
When is what?
We did it.
Maybe. But these have finally been put up. We're a real show.
show.
We're a real fucking show.
Yeah.
Legitimate,
And
guys.
people need to
Trying.
know that.
Yeah.
People need to fucking know
It's
that.
huge.
Rose,
It's
how are you?
huge. Buddy, well, I've had a bit of a crazy morning.
You had a crazy
we've been we've been through it. Like, we don't need to go through it again. But
Sure.
I'm here. And
I
I'm
know.
so happy to see you and to
I
see
didn't know what
you.
a trestle was. You wrote that, and then
Yeah.
Chad had to tell us what a trestle.
Thanks, Chad.
We're like, what's a trestle? And he was like, well, it's a thing that goes over a thing. And
Yeah.
we're like, I still don't know.
Yeah, it was so pretty. This beautiful bougainvillea, and then with the
Is it
rain
gonna be
here.
saved?
No.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the real tragedy. I had to chop it all down, but it was very dramatic. It took like a flip off the top of the
Rory
gate.
and I were talking this morning about his acting.
Aw,
and
bless.
I-
Hasn't
Go on.
hasn't he come a long way?
And I made fun of him because I go, Rory, that scene that I was in Physical where you were doing great background work was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, that's what I told him. I go, people see that and they go, what's the story back there?
But here, at
What's
one point,
he doing?
Rose and
back
I are
there?
doing a scene, and at one point, because I get to like peel off after
Yeah.
you are like, get away from me, and I get to peel off, and I look, and you are having some full-on past hors d'oeuvre interaction with a person.
Oh yeah, you got a whole story going on back
Guys,
there.
that's what I
Dude.
want. I want people going, I don't want it just the foreground. I want to
No.
know what is happening in
There's
the
a
background. Who are those people? What are their struggles? What is their story
Yeah.
to
It's
tell?
being specific. It's
Yeah.
called a specific. Making specific choices.
That's
Not
exactly right.
being general is the
And I
enemy of
verbalize
acting.
it. You guys are
Yes.
doing your scene, and I go, I will have an hors d'oeuvre.
You're both wonderful.
Stealing the show.
You're both wonderful.
You're
One of my
wonderful.
favorite moments in season 1 is when you get home after he ditches you at the party and you are mad at
Oh,
him.
yeah, that's
and
a good-
you give him like a real throwing. And
was
Rory,
fun.
and I knew it when I watched it. And I said it to him later. I go, that wasn't scripted. When he goes, you are really strong.
Ah,
I was like, he goes, yeah, Rose brought it. She was pissed.
Yeah, she was pissed.
that was a big moment.
For
I
our
remember.
guests who we say this all the time because we forget to introduce our guests, but they click
should
they
know.
click on the episode
Right, it
and it
says
will
your
say
name.
Pen Pals with Rose Byrne. Rose Byrne is here today. If you're watching on a Friday, you're now seeing that she's sitting right here. And if you're listening on a Wednesday, you're listening to her. But Daniel's talking about Physical, which is on Apple TV Plus, which stars the wonderful Rose Byrne.
And Rory Scovel.
I'm in a little bit of it.
And you know what's
I'm in a
funny?
little bit of it.
Special guest next season.
Danny, right here.
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Her last name, Ruben.
So
What?
It took us way
that.
too long to figure that
It
out.
actually took us
Nice.
until it took Annie.
get
It took
on that
Annie
mic.
doing the show for her to go. Wait, Danny. Wait, Ruben. And I was like, oh, I didn't even put that together.
Well, isn't
I
that
know,
lovely? Is
I
that
know.
that's good luck? I hope.
I guess
or
yeah, it's
some
a fun
kind of
little omen, a little
serendipitous
of the
yeah,
universe, bring everything
serendipity.
together.
I love that.
Daniel, should we do it?
Let's just do it.
Let's go to the letters.
Oh my goodness.
Dear Rory and Daniel.
You can read along if you want, Rose. I'll hold it for you.
Dear Rory and Daniel.
Ugh.
Perfect start.
Well, you know it's wrong.
I am a mere
be
3
this.
weeks into my potentially 4-year journey where I'm literally walking all the way around Australia. Topical. I am currently sitting under the shade of a gum tree next to a quiet road, and I have another 14 kilometers to walk today. It can be tough sometimes, but most of the time is the most wonderful thing I've ever done. Meeting all the amazing people along the way has been fantastic. I'm also trying to live without money. I haven't spent any yet, nor do I have any to spend, so that works out. But my phone bill is coming up, so I need to get a day's work to cover that soon. The reason I'm writing is because I've never been a very sentimental person, and I have traveled a lot and said goodbye to a lot of great friends who I have never seen since without much concern. But there's a big hole in my heart right now, a dear friend who the mere thought of not being around brings me to tears, my ex-partner's dog. Her name is Millie, and she's the greatest, most annoying, misbehaving, and loving dog I've ever come across. I'm crying right now just writing that sentence. Normally when you miss a friend, you can call or write to them, but what do you do when that isn't an option? I wish you well, your pen pal, Max. P.S. The dog is alive and well and happy and healthy. I'm just being a bit of a sook. Don't know if you have that. Is that Rose? Sook?
Yeah,
Rose?
sook, yeah.
Don't know if you have that word in America. It means sad sack. P.P.S. You don't have to plug me on the show, nor would I expect you to, but if you personally would like to follow my journey, you can do that on Instagram.
And we'll cut it off right there.
At amateur tramp. AMATEURTRAMP.
And we went and
Wow.
looked. That first pick, his first pick right now, or like the most recent pick, is a beautiful shot of looking up at
Look
some
at trees.
Oh, gorgeous.
Oh,
Yeah. So
wow.
we verified.
Sook.
Wow,
Is
so
that-
it's
wanna
a
go? A
legitimate
Sook, is that true?
a sook.
Sad sack?
Yeah.
Sad sack. That's a perfect translation. Yeah, sook. Like
First
just
thought?
a bit.
Super dangerous, right?
I know, right?
And I know that's also a hack thing to say about Australia. Like, so many things can kill you. Like, have you been to America? We got plenty
But
of ways to kill
have you
too.
ever been on
At your
Instagram
school.
and looked at the spiders in Australia?
I know,
Don't
but
they
I'm just saying,
fly?
okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. I know it's
yeah,
hacked.
so calmly.
She's like, yeah. I know it's hacked, but I'm
They
asking
fly.
genuinely. That's very dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Well, isn't it dangerous to walk across any
would've-
country?
I
whether
have a
it's
daydream where I leave my place in LA and just see if I can walk home to Rochelle, Illinois.
Really?
Yeah, I just like, could I get there? Like, who would I meet? It's also
Yeah.
a very like straight white male privilege thing. to
How
be
are
like,
you
I'll be
charging
safe
your
and
phone?
fine, right?
How are you charging your phone as you go?
Would I
Yeah.
even take it?
Oh my
But
God.
then
How would you
know
know?
the map where to go?
You can't
Go
walk
just bring
on a
hard map.
highway.
Once I
Bring
get
a
to the
hard map.
10, I just stay on the 10.
You
And then
can't walk on the 10.
why couldn't you walk on the 10?
You're going to get hit by a car
but
I mean, that's part of the danger,
and
baby.
arrested. Oh, you
Would
are
you
right.
get
You're right. It
arrested? What
is
is it?
dangerous.
It's Rambo. All of a sudden, you just start saying the plot from Rambo to me. You're like, and the sheriff who doesn't want you. in
Then
his
you're up
town.
in the woods for no reason.
And you didn't start with him. They started with you.
But that's not a pretty walk. The 10.
No, you're right. That
That's a
wouldn't
grim
be-
walk.
but
That's
I'm,
like,
I'm
if you're
not going to
gonna-
go over the Rockies.
Well,
If you're gonna walk, take the pretty
You
pretty
can't.
pretty
You
route.
can't. I can't.
I don't
go
think there is
over
a pretty
Denver.
route. I mean,
Well,
what's
there
the
is. It's
route?
just you're going over the Rocky. You have to go through basically like Denver, Colorado. That's a very pretty drive, but I couldn't walk that. Could I? I mean, that's.
I don't know. So this walk around Australia, are you picturing like?
How long is that going to take?
Is it on
3
the
years?
beach the whole time?
Well,
Those
that's what I'm
calves.
wondering if he's
How's he
if
doing
he's
it?
going on the coast or if he's going inland, and that's far more kind of treacherous inland
Right?
in a way. Well, yeah, because it's just desert and it's
Forgive me for this.
pretty.
Top half of Australia is like really like you're just in no man's land, right?
Yeah, well, in the middle
thought you were gonna
too.
say-
Yeah.
80% of the population is on the coast.
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
it's
So that's why I
pretty
worry when like,
uninhabitable.
well, what if you haven't? You're like, oh, I got to pay that bill, and it's like, well, what about when it's been 2 weeks since you've been to a place where you could even
Yeah.
get service, let alone pay
Pay
a
a
bill?
bill.
But isn't
Yeah.
there something kind of like, I don't know if the word unrealistic makes sense, but then there's something kind of romantic about being like, yeah, I just got to find a day's work so I can pay
Yes.
my bill. And you're
Yeah,
like,
that is-
yeah,
there
all
is
right.
something
Yeah,
that's-
how do you do
I'll
that?
pick up a bit of work here
Yeah.
or there.
I'll
and-
just stop at
yeah.
a farm and offer my
Yeah.
services.
That is-
to
Yeah.
pay. Also, what is a phone bill? You're gonna make
$40?
$70 in a day?
Is
Get out of
he,
town.
but is he at an internet cafe?
How
Why
did
did
we
he
get
write
this
the letter?
How did we get this?
We're
How
not
did he
getting, we're not
write the
getting
letter?
scammed, right?
Are
The back half of the
authors-
letter makes me feel like we're not getting.
I don't think
scammed.
we're getting scammed because this is so wildly creative. And also, there's pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, you're right. We know.
But
we
he's
know.
walking across Australia, and it's a 3 weeks. Let's talk about this. When does he give up? When does he call it quits?
You know when? And
3
I-
weeks
and I'm
into a
gonna say this- I'm
4
gonna
year,
say this
4
with
years
love.
of your life walking.
He's gonna give up when he's like, I'm fulfilled. I found my
I'm done, yeah.
reasoning. Like,
Yeah.
It's like all those like that show Alone that we have you ever seen Alone?
Oh, I've heard of it.
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
they go out there and you're by yourself, and how
Yes,
long can you
yeah,
make it?
yeah.
All the ones that leave, they go, you know what? I came out here
I
thinking
did
I
it.
wanted $1 million, but I really found something more in this
yeah.
time and what's important to me back home. So he'll walk for as long as that, or he'll do the whole thing. But either way, he's gonna feel good when he ends it, no matter when it is.
Let's make a
Unless
prediction.
the
Let's make
dog
That's
really
bad.
gets
Ooh, that's
gets caught up
sad.
on the
I know.
dog.
Well, we'll get to that part.
Let's
Or
make
we
a
go there now.
prediction. Well, I want to make a prediction real quick. do we think in this 4-year journey, however long, and I want you to write us back, Max, does he find his
dog
life partner? Is it like a movie where he walks into a cafe and his whole 4-year journey takes this other turn?
Yeah, he'd have to quit, right?
Because the waitress is a little sassy and he likes it and he's like, oh, who is this? She's like, walking? You're walking?
Or maybe
not tonight. You're staying at my place. And then
Right. Well, that's the thing. He'll
who
have
knows
to
where
quit
it goes.
because he'd have to quit because otherwise he's on to the next town, right?
Yeah.
You also would love this, wouldn't you? To
Sort of a
tune
Doc
everything
Hollywood
out?
kind of vibe. What's that?
Turn everything off and just go out for a while.
I
And,
can see you doing that.
I would love it.
Rory?
I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm capable, but I really would love to do it.
I have a friend who's doing the Pacific Coast Trail right now.
What is that?
hiking it?
Yep, hiking it. She started right at the border of Mexico, and she's
Yeah.
hiking all the way up.
No.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
a cause or
To
for
No,
Alaska?
for just
All the way
mental
to
health
Alaska?
reasons. I mean, not mental
Yeah,
health
for
reasons,
sure,
but
yes.
to
Yeah,
to
there is
just
a
get
spiritual fulfillment.
step out of the rat race and
And okay,
with her husband.
They're doing it
husband.
together? Oh
Yeah,
my
they're
God,
doing
I
it
love that.
for 4 weeks.
are you able,
Yeah.
as a friend, are you able in any way to keep track? Like that's my other thing. Like you do whatever you want, but like somebody wants to know. You have
You're
to check
okay.
in. Yes.
Yeah.
She does email, like they go to the little towns and they'll peel off and go in and have a shower every 4 days or something, and then they recharge. For
They don't shower in the ocean?
No,
Missed
I- but that's a
opportunity.
good point.
Missed opportunity.
That
Probably
counts.
would.
The
Maybe
salt
she
water.
is. I was more concerned about her hat. I was like, if you got a hat,
Hat's
you know
so
what
important.
I'm,
Yes.
hat,
Yes.
sunscreen.
Yes.
You got your long
check those
sleeves.
moles.
Got to check those moles.
Yeah.
She's got a couple of moles.
Yeah, you got to get those looked at. So
Yeah.
there's every 4 days, dermatologist, get a shower. They're doing intense.
Yeah, and then Rose, you're like, you know what?
Every
make it
6
easier.
days.
Rent a car. You're
Yeah.
gonna want a car. You'll be able to get to the charging stations and the cafes. and
Every
everything's
6
so much
days,
better.
Michelin star restaurant. Like, wait, I don't feel. It doesn't feel like you're roughing it.
Now that you've got the car, you need to park it. So just go to a hotel.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
just
yeah,
get a
yeah,
hotel.
yeah.
Here's my favorite hotels. What are your thoughts on this concept of missing a dog?
so
Because you
sad.
can't connect.
Yeah.
Like right now, you miss someone, you could just text them, or you could call them, or you could do something.
Yeah.
But when it's like the love you feel with an animal, you have no choice but presence. You have to be there.
Well, this is my
Yeah,
thing, though.
yeah.
Okay, so here's my thing. When you reach out to a person that you haven't seen in a long time or you miss, right? I have a buddy who recently moved, and as I was driving in, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to text him and be like, miss you, man. Hope you're great, right? I'm doing that. Yes, it's an expression of me, but I'm also wanting them to feel like, oh, like that was nice. Like I want them to have
Feels
that same
good.
sort of, yes.
yeah, you're being thought about.
If you know that that dog loves certain types of toys or a chew bone or something like that, send it to the dog, and provided it from your ex-partner gives it to them, you will know
You
that you gave that same sort of joy or happiness to that animal that you missed, and that, at least on some level, should make you feel better. Just like I would feel better when my buddy Josh sees a text from me and goes, wow, Daniel thought of me. Like that's, I miss that guy too.
You know
Now,
what I think
the
you do?
communication's different, obviously, but you are knowing like, I sent a win column for that dog that day. Like
A what?
a W in the win
Wind
column.
column.
What's
Little
a
check,
win
little
column?
check in the win column.
Oh,
Like,
I thought
uh,
that was the name of the toy.
No, win columns are great dog toys.
Yes,
that I
that's what I
own
thought you
the
meant too.
copyright of because I created it.
Good eye contact. I like
Thanks,
that.
buddy. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'll barrel.
Barrel.
I'll barrel. I'll barrel.
I'm not convinced the dog's not tied to the ex-partner and
What
a
do you-
way to keep in touch.
That's enough. But
I'm sorry to throw that out
But
there, but I think that I think
Max, Max, what
I
are you
think that
plotting
it's
here?
like you have to grieve the dog like you grieve the relationship.
you have to
So
let
you
it
gotta-
go.
you have
You
to
have to
cut
let
ties.
it go.
Interesting.
Because I think I had a friend who was going through the same thing. She was hung up about the dog because her marriage had ended. And I was like, you got to let go of the
You sort of
dog.
don't have a
Like,
choice, do you?
You have to grieve that relationship too.
Yeah.
You know,
And
Yeah.
the great thing about a dog
That's
is you know it's happy, and if it's a cat,
Yes.
you know it doesn't care.
You
Can I ask
couldn't
you?
care less.
Cats are like great. Oh, you're leaving? Great.
yeah,
Let me ask you this: what if it's a dog that you have acquired with your partner during the relationship, and you make the choice, like, all right, the dog's going to go with you. I'm going my separate ways. Is there a thing where you go? You don't grieve that relationship, but you go, all right, how do we share the
that
dog?
happens.
Almost
That
like
hap- we
a
know-
child
we all
of
know
divorce.
Well,
that
that's
happens.
what my
That
friend
happens.
tried to do, and it became too much because she
emotionally.
couldn't move on from the marriage.
Yeah.
Ending,
Okay.
because the dog was still this thing that was going back and forth, and it's like enough.
Right.
Enough. I was like, enough with the dog.
Right.
You have to
Because
grieve the
if-
dog. You've got to move on.
This is
The
gonna
dog
sound-
is holding you back.
Right.
The dog's holding you back.
It's gonna sound like a joke or a big flippant, but I'm not, because if it was a real child,
Of course,
you would
yeah.
have to figure
Move
this out.
on.
Of
Move
course,
But it is a
of
dog,
course.
and I'm
Leave
not
them.
doubting how much
Leave
she
them.
loves it. But
Me
at some
either.
point
Me
you have
either.
to
But
go.
it became more about it was like you have to. You can't move on.
But I feel
with
like the
that,
vibe
so-
here is that it was his partner's dog. He just really misses
That's
it.
what the vibe I felt too.
And
Yeah, that's
I
what
know,
the
and it
vibe I
breaks
felt
my
too. Yeah.
breaks my heart, because I think you're right. I don't think you do. I think you do yourself a disservice and your ex-partner a disservice of accepting the finality of that relationship when you go, but I want to come over and hang out with the dog. It's almost like, I don't know that you can.
Nope.
And I guess
Does
to
he
answer your
indicate
question,
that
what do you
at
do
all,
when
or
that
does he
isn't
just
an
say
option?
he misses it?
He just says he misses, normally what he was saying is he really misses the dog.
He would love to
But
be
when
on
you
this
usually,
walk
I think he
with
was
his
saying,
dog.
usually when you miss a friend, you can call or write them. But what do you do when that isn't an option, like with a dog, when you can't do that? I was going to throw out this.
That's why I'm saying send a toy.
If you are
Which
going to
is a
send a
sweet
toy,
idea.
if you are going to do that, what if you cut off a little piece of your shirt that smells like you, put it in with the thing, envelopes, and let me finish, let me finish. Then you mail that. I didn't need to finish. You knew it was going to. Then you send that. What?
Well, I do think
And the dog smells you like.
I thought you were gonna say cut off like your hair or something and send it to the
That
dog.
also works.
But
Whatever the dog can smell to go,
I-
do you think the dog goes, I guess he got me this gift. I guess Max is throwing me this gift.
I mean the
I
dog
don't
would
know.
smell
I'm
you.
such a bitch. I'm just like, you gotta get over it, man.
Well, Rose, can I say if
well,
So
he,
mean.
well, he is
I'm so
walking across
mean.
a country, a
Yeah.
continent
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
So
What an experiment.
With no money.
But yeah, that's a big part of the experiment.
I think
too.
I know why they
yeah.
broke up.
Rose, can we agree on this? Can we agree on this though?
Max,
Rose?
I'm joking. You're walking, listening to this on
Sure.
There was an
AirPods,
incredible- there was-
Also,
ears.
save your battery.
There was an
Save
incredible.
your battery.
There was
Save
an
your battery.
there was an incredible woman who walked across Australia with
Like cut-
camels.
cut through.
Yeah, right across. She walked across Australia with camels on the same sort of thing. She packed up everything and she would get work along the way at certain farms and stuff. But she walked across. Blanking on her name.
Reese
Reese
Yeah,
Witherspoon.
Wild, the movie Wild.
Mia
The movie
Wasikowska.
Wild. You're
Wild,
thinking
Mia-
Wild too.
Still wild after
Mia
all these years.
Wasikowska played her in the movie, and just this incredible woman who did that.
Really?
Yep, she did.
Can we agree
back in
though,
the 70s?
that if you
a
do-
woman, pretty tough,
Well,
with camels.
Yeah, I'm sure she had help. Well, they were camels. There was probably male
you're giving the
camels.
camels
Male
credit?
camels. She needed male camels.
Well, the
to
male
help her out
camels were there to help.
and explain things.
Can I just say, when you
Thanks.
said camels, all I thought about was how much water they require. I was like, how do you do that? She's thirsty, but she's like, these things got to eat
Yeah.
a car's worth.
All right, I
of
have
water.
to
Yeah,
get this out.
it's incredible.
Can we agree that if you send a toy to a former lover, former partner's pet, there's no note. There's nothing other than like for Wrigley. Hope you're well, but you don't use that as a avenue to being like
Well, then,
out
but
here
then you
thinking
just,
about,
it's
right.
about the
So it
person.
needs
yeah,
to be
it's
so.
just like
if you do go down that route, it
send
needs to
a
be
toy
very
or
yes.
T-shirt
Or
or
you do
whatever.
You know
write a
what?
letter
Literally, all
that
right.
clearly you want them to read, and you're like, hey, just want to send you this toy. I think about you all the time. I think I left on bad terms. I really wish we could patch things up and talk. And the person's reading, like, and this is for the dog? This letter is for the dog. I just think we had something special that a lot of people don't get.
I remember the way you
It's
used to
like
look
sort of
at
a
me.
once-in-a-lifetime relationship.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is for the dog.
You just keep asserting that.
I swear to God, this is not about us. This is for the dog. Please
Nothing
read
to
this.
do with what
Please read
happened.
this to the
Max,
dog.
if you do it, my suggestion is send a note, and let's say the dog is Wrigley, as so many dogs.
It's
are
Millie.
in
The dog
Chicago.
is Millie.
Oh, Millie,
The
right?
dog's Millie.
And you go for Millie. Hope she or he enjoys
Yeah.
it.
Hope
And
you
that's
haven't moved
signed,
on.
Blah, blah, blah. There's no hope you're doing
Hope
Do
you're
you,
not
do you
dating
even
anyone.
need the note? If you're sending a dog toy, isn't it pretty obvious who it's for?
Yeah, but where did it come from?
You can sign his name on the back.
Oh no,
like,
I forgot
you
he's
know,
got his DNA hidden inside the toy.
But do imagine the ex-partner opening it. It's clearly a dog toy. And they're like, what do I do with
What am I
this?
supposed to do with this? This bone sucks.
Little
This
pork
is-
rind?
What is this supposed to?
Little salt?
Oh my God! This is from. I'm so dumb. This is from Millie.
So maybe just for Millie.
Dear Millie, I hope you're not dating anyone new. I That's weird. It's a weird. It's a weird direction to go with it.
Also,
Yeah,
What a dog, huh?
Rory and I are about to take survival courses together.
You are?
Like an excursion, like you go out for a few nights and then they show you how
That's
to
awesome.
Go live in
Yeah.
nature.
Like you're going to like just, pack a tent or something?
I have
think
no
so.
idea.
I
Maybe,
think so.
Or they teach us how to build
we just
shelter.
fight to the death out there against the
Where?
odds.
Where do you go?
I don't even
I
know.
don't know. Could be
He got it for me
Pasadena.
for my
Could be
birthday.
Pasadena.
To the Grove. We're going to the
Grove.
Grove.
You go to the
God.
Grove. You
Go to
see
the
a
Grove.
movie.
Yeah, there's a green right there.
You go to the chocolatier. Then you go to the movie.
Could you imagine how long before
Go
they
to the
kick
Apple
you out?
store.
Before they kick you out, if you go to the Grove, set up a tent, you got like a
my
burner
Very
going
quickly.
in a hot plate.
Very quickly.
Going.
Yeah.
Oh my
I think very quickly.
God.
The Grove does not mess around. Very quickly.
The Grove?
The Grove does
Caruso,
not.
he's right there.
Yeah, they're not
he's
there to-
right there.
This ain't,
they're
the whole
not
time,
messing
the whole
about.
time you're like, this isn't the Americana. Get the
Yeah.
fuck out of here.
You want to do that at the Americana?
Glendale.
You're welcome to it.
Yeah.
You're welcome
This is
to it.
West Hollywood.
Yeah.
We keep it clean.
This is the Grove. Do you know what that is right there? That's CBS. Yeah. Right there.
there.
Right there.
And that's where you're doing this? In that
James
shadow?
Corden. James Corden is right over there.
Right there.
And you're putting a tent in the Grove.
You hear that? That's Bill Maher being problematic right now.
That's in Urban Outfitters. That is in Urban Outfitters right there.
Have you seen the
Operating
fountain?
America.
Have you seen what the fountain does?
Have you seen it at 5 p.m.?
I
Have you
bet
seen
you
it?
don't
Have
even
you seen the
listen.
joy
It's
it
a little
brings?
Bellagio. It's a little Bellagio.
Bellagio.
Little Bellagio.
Bellagio.
Ew.
Max, I gotta say, I don't know if we were so helpful for your feelings, but I think we gave you a hard truth, and I think that hard
yeah.
truth.
And
I
also
think we
said-
did
I
give a
also
hard
said, I
truth.
feel like he heard both sides of the coins.
And I think you need both sides because you have
Send it. I send it.
headphones and you're walking for 4 years.
Please be safe.
Please
You're on
be
week
safe.
3.
Get
Here's
a
some
hat.
things we want to throw at you. Be safe.
Get a hat.
Fucking get a hat.
Good hat. A big
Hydrate.
Hydrate.
Sunscreen.
Yeah.
Good footwear.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've
Pedialytes.
covered all this.
Hydrolytes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hydrolytes.
Yeah.
Hydrolytes, whatever those are. That's probably another Australian term. Hydrolytes.
Hydrolytes.
But I think emotionally, I think Rose makes a big point here. You will have to work away from that dog, or it's gonna. Sometimes you hold
also
on to
you
those
will
things, it
naturally
destroys you.
Yes. Yeah.
But honestly, by week 7, you're not even gonna remember that dog.
That's not
You'll
true.
have met so many new
Rose,
dogs.
Rose, says the guy who just told a very teary story about his first dog that they had to give to another family.
Oh,
Years
yeah.
ago.
I forgot about
Years
that.
ago.
We did.
Years ago.
Listen, I don't.
I think about all
And
the
he's
time.
also
But
currently
But I think
obsessed
about it because it was
and you're also
emotional for
currently
Elliot
obsessed
and
with your
Jordan.
dog,
Yeah.
and
And
your dog's
myself.
obsessed with you.
People are so
Our
emotional,
dog-
but
our
I
dog's
shouldn't be
awesome.
so cold. But I just think it is what it is. Like
I
he,
think
he
you're
has
right,
to
though.
grieve it, and it's really sad.
But
But
when
thank
things-
God
you
he's
know
got
what-
the time on his
You know what,
hands to
too?
really go
Like you were
through
saying,
it, you know?
this dog came into your life because your life was working with that person.
Yep.
Your life is no longer working with that person, so the dog isn't in your life.
Yep.
It is.
Yeah.
I understand a conversation, and if it can work and everybody moves on and they're happy because relationships and love is on a spectrum, that if you got a pet together and you somehow can figure out to make that work and you are both legitimately moving on, great.
Yeah.
But it's certainly, in most scenarios, it's like, well, that animal was in your life because they were in your life and they're
Yeah.
not in your life, so neither is the animal.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Don't
And-
carry
well, also-
love. You loved it for a while.
Yeah,
and
Also
it
just
lived
to-
in your life.
You
Yes.
gotta let it
Also,
go.
just to close on this, Max is not saying, how do I maintain that relationship?
No.
He's just
It's not,
asking
what do you do
with
when you
a
miss-
pet,
when
What
you
do I
miss?
get?
how do you do when you
How do
can't
you do?
communicate with something?
Yeah.
And I
Yes,
gave
yeah,
that nice
yeah,
answer,
yeah.
and Rose
And I
was
think
mean.
Daniel gave a right answer,
was
and then
mean.
Rose was mean, and we thought Rose was mean about it.
But also, some people,
I'm dead inside, guys. You know that, Rory.
neither one of us
Dead
are
When
wrong.
that trestle broke, you changed.
Yeah.
You changed. You were that trestle. You've changed. You've fallen over.
The hard rain is going to fall.
Hard
The
rain.
rain
Hard
fell
rain
down on my
takes Rose
trestle.
down. Takes her down.
And the trestle, just
Um,
like my soul, is
Max,
collapsed.
stay safe out there, and
Yeah.
thank you so much for riding us. And please, you have 4 years. That means you're going to be walking longer than this podcast has been currently
Yeah.
going. So hit us back. Give us updates. Let us know where you're at. Let us know how much you've changed. Let us know what you've learned. But we wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Rory Scovel.
Daniel Van Kirk
And
Rose Byrne.
And we are back. You are listening to Pen Pal, or you're watching it.
Yeah.
You're listening to. If this is Wednesday and you don't know this yet, on Friday we drop the videos of these podcasts,
like and subscribe.
then you can see us. You can see us talk about these things.
Hey, if you also not just want to see us, you want to talk to us, thepenpalspod@gmail.com.
That's right.
And you can do us some snail mail, care of the Pen Pals Podcast, 5419 Hollywood Boulevard, Suite C, number 121, Los Angeles, California,
90027. Rose has written in anonymously. We're never going to tell you what her letter was.
Too much. Do you have any plugs? Do you guys have any plugs?
I'll plug something. I'll definitely plug something.
I don't
like
what do you have?
free.
I don't know that I have anything. Physical, I think season 2 will come out in June.
Early
I think
June.
June.
Apple TV.
Apple TV Plus. But if you are like, well, it's season 2, but I haven't seen season 1, it's currently available on Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus.
Somewhere between the 18th and the 21st, we are set to do a live Pen Pals in Houston, Texas.
That is correct.
Oh,
At the Come and Take It Comedy Festival. Rory is headlining that festival.
May.
I'm headlining that festival. Of May, yes. Of May. Go to, I think, comeandtakeitcomedy.com or danielvankirk.com, or you can go to roryscovel.com, but there's nothing
you
there.
can't.
There's
No, you
no
can't.
reason to do that.
But also, you could go to Moon Tower
Yes.
late April. We're
Well,
going to be
this should
doing a
be
live
after
Pen
that.
Pals there.
This should be after that.
This is after that?
Yeah.
I don't know. When is what?
When is what?
Hey, for everybody who came out in Austin for Moon Tower, fucking awesome.
Sorry
That was
about
awesome
the
of
line,
you.
but it was worth it.
Sorry about the line, and sorry that the meet and greet that we yelled at that person.
Also, I'm going to be in Asheville, Atlanta, and Savannah the weekend after this drops. If you're lined up your when is what timing, go to danielvankirk.com. And then the next week I'm going to be in San Antonio, New Orleans, and
Christ.
in Mobile, Alabama. So go to danielvankirk.com.
Not for shows or anything. He's
What?
just
I'm
he's
just
doing
gonna
his
be
own
there.
journey.
Yeah,
He's doing his
yeah,
own
I'm doing
walking journey. He's
Yeah,
walking.
looking for sad dogs.
You
no,
gonna get another booster?
yeah, of course. It's I'm getting 2. I just lie all the time. I go in once a week and get a booster.
Yeah, just get another, maybe another half a boost.
It's the Together Again tour.
Give
so.
me a half boost.
Just a half cup.
It top me off a
Half
little
a
bit.
boost.
Do a
Top me
half
off, a little
top.
nightcap.
Come on.
Little nightcap
teaspoon.
boost.
Give me a teaspoon
Give
worth.
Rory 5 shots over there.
I'm Rory 5 shots. I've had 3 total shots. J&J,
Yeah.
and then I
Both
started
Modernas.
over. And then I
Started
did
fresh?
Moderna.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't even do a booster. I said,
Well, 'cause
I
you
don't
don't
need the
need one.
booster.
Yeah,
Let's start over.
Yeah, you're good.
And they go, what'd you have the first time? I go, J&J. They go, you haven't started yet. This is your first start.
Rose, have they given you guys a premiere date for season 2 yet?
They just said early June.
Early
so
June.
That's pretty soon. Yeah. I feel like we finished 5 minutes ago.
It does feel like that. It does feel like that.
It does.
And unless I get cut out, we're episode 1 together. First
Well,
season.
No.
Well,
You
from
better
what I
not be
know,
cut out.
yeah.
What?
From what I know, yeah.
I did.
What?
I got cut out. He's being mean.
Being so mean.
Yeah, he's being
I
like,
know.
how could
you be
I
cut
don't-
out?
You're not.
There's
no one told
posters.
me if you were.
There's posters.
This would be the funniest way to find out. You guys get real quiet.
Unless I got cut out, and we're like,
You did a really good performance then. I thought you knew something I didn't know.
there's
Right?
posters.
He's doing cuts with Annie.
There
Just
are-
late at night. Just late at night. He's like, here's what I think we can lose.
And that's the only
Daniel.
time I'm
Daniel.
smoking cigarettes. I'm like, no, he goes. What was I gonna say?
I don't know.
I don't know.
There's posters of your character.
Oh,
Meaning
yeah,
Daniel's
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
have
it's true.
Daniel's gonna have
There
new
is,
merch.
actually.
Right.
He's got new merch when he goes
food
on the road.
dehydration.
And
You would be the most expensive cut from the show because you're like, God, we made all this props.
I know.
We made all these
Props have
posters.
been-
There's a
Also-
cardboard
There's
cutout.
merch.
Rory texted me and he goes, you will never know the joy it gives me that you have to wear so much brown in this show. Because I have a thing where I don't think men should wear brown at night.
Why?
I think it looks horrible.
Why?
I just think a man in brown at night is like...
At night? Why specifically at night?
Because day is fine.
Okay,
This is
okay,
sweating or
This
okay,
started
okay,
the
okay,
whole
okay.
thing. This started a whole thing during the
brown.
pandemic.
Yeah, but it's daytime.
It's
Yeah,
daytime.
yeah,
He
yeah. I
excuses
dress
it.
my little boys in brown a lot.
At night?
Well, they're at school today,
Three-piece
and he
suits.
was in a
They wear
little
three-piece suits. to
tan,
school.
kind of
That's
brown
cute.
khaki.
Think about a guy in a brown suit at night. It doesn't...
You know
it
what?
doesn't-
Bobby wore one once, and he still regrets it.
Oh
Sorry,
my
I shouldn't say that
God.
because of the design. But anyway, he just thought he didn't look great. He was like, "This is not a good thing."
What a great moment.
I would dare say...
to prove his point to him.
Yeah, it's actually true. Yeah,
He
it was
is
at like a big event.
He
and-
knows fashion. He knows how to look good. He cares about how he looks
Fashion
all
maven.
the time.
Maven.
He's done modeling
Maverick.
shoots where even though he wasn't the model, he was in the
Face.
shoot.
He's the face.
But he's
of
a
Kiss.
flagship.
Yes.
He's the face of Kiss.
He's a flagship
so
of
Rory,
fashion.
you go get somebody now on your
Headquarters.
side because I got Bobby on
I'm
mine.
not arguing
You
brown
hate
at night.
Yes, you are. When we first said that, you were like,
I
"You're
hope we do a
ridiculous."
premiere red carpet. I'm gonna wear the brownest suit. Ugh.
You'll probably look great.
And people are like, "Why are you wearing that?" I'm like, "For spite, and it's not comfortable, and I don't like it, and I
Exactly.
already feel Bobby's regret."
Tell Bobby, thank you so much for that.
Well, it can look a little fecal too.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Here we go.
Dear Rory and Daniel.
That's correct.
Why get
That
it
is
wrong?
correct.
Why do
That's
that?
correct.
I'm writing this letter because there is something I need to get off my chest and would love to hear your advice. It's complicated, but I'll try to keep it short. I'm the youngest child of 4 sisters, and my parents have been married for 40 plus years. I love them both, but now that I'm an adult, I recognize that my dad was a pretty awful parent. My parents are super traditional, so my mom was a stay-at-home mom while my dad worked pretty much 24/7, and he believes that those are the roles that men and women should have. I think this mainly comes from the fact that he grew up in a culture that is very sexist, but he has lived in the U.S. for most of his life now. Aside from the fact that he basically didn't act as a parent for my sisters and the constant sexist comments he makes, including in front of my young nieces, and the fact that neither of my parents ever saw it as their job to prepare me for a career because I would inevitably get married, sorry, let me take that again. The fact that my parents never saw it as their job to prepare me for a career because I would inevitably get married, that has built up a lot of anger and resentment in me over time. Because of this, I have always been extremely feminist. I have a job that I like and a husband who supports me in everything, which is such a blessing. But when I find myself thinking about how I was raised, I still get angry. Do you have any advice for letting go of anger about how you grew up or maintaining a relationship with a parent who is so different from you? Love the show, Laura. I don't know if they love it because of how they started wrong, but...
No, I think they really love it.
Well,
they know how to respect it properly. Because they're like, well, Rory, you know,
but
obviously,
if you're a pal or you go,
you know that it's Rory.
So, okay. So how interesting, because I didn't think about this at all. You, even in the first letter, you were like, you got to let go.
Yeah.
What about when it's like anger? So this person, the first one was like, I got to let go of my...
The dog,
Yes.
yeah. This is really kind of heavy.
What
It is
age?
a little
This
bit.
one's heavy.
We get
What
Very
we get all
heavy.
the realms.
Yeah.
What age do you
Very
think these
heavy.
parents are? If they've been together for 40 plus years, do you think Laura's writing
Let's
us
say on
as
average,
like
she's
our
25.
age? You think she's
I
25?
was going to say 25.
So you're talking about the parents are in their like 60s?
No, because they would have they got married 40 years ago. They had kids maybe around 25, and she's
Sounds like the dad is from somewhere, another country, but lived in the
Yeah,
US
But if
most
they've
of his life.
been together
so
40
he's
plus
from
years, they met
another
when they were 20s, they might be 60.
60. Okay.
And so this kid's probably 40, 35 or 40.
So the parents are young. I mean, they're relatively young.
Here's
just
what
not
I think.
realizing
Well, here's
how
what I
bad I
think.
did that math.
What do you think is the generation?
Don't even try.
Okay.
What do you think is the
smarter than
generation?
me.
Crunch those numbers.
The generation or the age where right now you would go, like if someone goes, well, I believe traditionally that the woman stays at home and the man goes to work. Yeah. There is a generation that is still alive now.
And
I want to say
cultures-
probably 70s or 80s,
Sure.
where
A
you
lot
would
of
look
parts
at
of our
them
country.
and you would almost excuse the fact that they think that because you go, that was your reality and you're not in tune. You don't have enough of an influence of someone younger to tell you why that's wrong. Sure. And you've lived this life of, like my grandparents, you know, you could argue whatever they thought was their time period of whatever they thought.
Right, but Rosemary Van Kirk.
But also,
The pride
but
of
I'm
my
not saying
family.
all generations
Queen.
are like that.
She's 92, dude.
Yeah.
And she always worked. I'm not, obviously there's exceptions, but I'm just saying all of her friends worked, like she worked. Like,
Yes.
I have this bit right now in my new hour where I go, I'm done with people who can say whatever racist shit they
I
want.
thought we already did the plugs.
And then they go, it never ends. And then they go, and I'll probably say this in Savannah, even Atlanta, probably like around the left.
this is kind of what you can look forward to at DannyVanKirk.com.
But I do this bit where I go, they say the most racist stuff, and you get upset by it, and then someone puts their hand on your shoulder and goes, Daniel, they're from a different time. And I go, I'm done with that because
Right.
this is their time. You know how I know they're not dead yet?
Yeah.
Rosemary's 92, and she
Yes.
can FaceTime me.
Yes.
You know why? Because
Yeah.
she's of this time.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
But here's
yeah,
my
yeah.
point is, I'm not saying like, we're not sitting here going
But I
like,
get the anger.
if this person goes, yeah, and anyways, my dad's 55. You're like, that's so shocking. But if someone goes, well, no, my dad's 85. You go, that's less
But
shocking.
do you think
Yeah,
that, do you know what I
yeah,
mean? But do you think
sure,
that the
yeah.
country thing that Rose mentioned is because of the culture?
I think it must be because
yes.
she's very specific about that.
Right,
To
right.
mention that specifically, he's been here most
He
of his
grew up
life.
in a culture that is very sexist,
Yes,
but he has
yeah.
lived in the U.S. for
I
most
think
of his
that's a
life
big
now.
point for her to point out.
I mean, the
Anyway.
Taliban just said, hey, actually, no, we're not going to let girls go to school. Like, that just came out, like, last week. So, depending on where you live, it could still be an insane
Of
level
course,
of sex.
yeah.
I have a question. Is that the same as Australia? Like, does Australia have the traditional, like, yeah, back in the 50s, the woman stayed at
course.
home and the
Yeah,
man went and did the
absolutely. I
so
mean-
it's kind of, cultural
I
amongst.
guess-
Why do you keep
Yeah.
asking her about Australia?
I don't know. She loves it there.
Listen to her voice. It's obviously English. I'm the guy who doesn't like.
Yeah, she's obviously
the
from
dumbest
Ireland.
American. Also, pretty average.
Yeah. Vancouver, right? I'm detecting an accent. Vancouver?
She's obviously from New York. Yeah, but so they say
Everyone
things.
thinks I'm from England. You know, my name is Mary Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rosemary. That's so cute.
Yeah.
That's your grandma's
Rosemary,
name.
she's
Yeah.
literally
She's the
like,
greatest
if a Hallmark
grandmother.
card was a person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
cute. Cute.
So, but you said the same roles, the 50s
Sure,
and 60s.
no, I think that can absolutely be reflected in Australian culture as well. But this sounds pretty a bit more severe.
Unforgivable.
To me. Yeah,
Unforgivable.
Well, the kind of scrutiny she's under and the sort of mild abuse. Or
It does-
better.
Yeah,
I don't know, like
well,
kind of
she's angry.
psychological.
I would say,
right?
I think
effect
massive
it's had
abuse
on
here.
her. Yeah.
I think anybody who has a child and you raise them to just go, well, just you'll get married and that will take care of you. It's almost like, one, you do know that there are plenty of people who do not get married by choice or not by
That
choice.
is
Maybe they want to get married, but they
Rory,
don't.
Yes.
There are people, even who have only ever been in this country, who that is unacceptable. The idea that you would not get married.
Yeah,
They think that
sure.
You are so far beyond the pale.
Yeah.
It seems so. To me, it seems like, and this is why I brought this up because I was trying to predict what the age was so that we could sort of map out. Like, my parents would be in their 60s right now. They were like, my dad was definitely the type of guy who was like, whatever. What is the thing now? Like, what are we talking about now? And some issues, there's some issues for sure. You'd have to sell them on it because some people don't want to let go of the reality that they've come to believe is how things should be. My dad was a little looser about that. He would listen to you and like he would usually, I believe, err on the right side. But there are people who think that you are actively trying to change things in a way where they're like, no, things work when it's this way.
Yeah.
And my suspicion is that this dad is wildly unaware of how harmful his sexism truly is. But it to me, it's almost so strange in a way where it's like, you're talking about your own child. You're talking about your own child and making these comments around your what do they say, the grandchildren or
Nieces.
yeah, so his grandchildren.
Yeah.
Making fun of like the grandchildren. It's like, I think you're holding on to something that is, I mean, I get this anger. You're clearly holding on to,
But isn't that
I don't know what, but you've not allowed yourself to have a conversation with yourself. You haven't allowed yourself to have a conversation with a counterpoint. You haven't listened to anyone who's trying to, also, it isn't like you have to, it's a stretch to absorb this opinion. You could watch TV shows, movies, listen to the news, listen to social commentary. People are telling you about the changing tide of most social issues if you slightly plug yourself in.
Rory, let me ask you. I think the most interesting thing here is she did not like become indoctrinated to it or like be a victim of it because she says herself, I'm an extreme feminist. I have a job that I like and a husband who supports me, which is like such the biggest pillar of like any relationship, friendship, or marriage, which is such a blessing. So she's like, look, I saw it for what it was, and I've lived a life that was outside of those expectations and that are like outdated culture.
Yeah.
However, I'm still really mad about it.
Of course, it's her dad.
And not-
I mean, what a deep,
I mean,
profound.
I'll do another plug, but not to do another plug. But isn't that
Rose, when you get to your opinion, feel free to.
isn't that a bit of your character though? Even in season 1 of like, well, I'll just go do
hello.
this
Hello.
myself.
Physical, Apple
Yeah.
TV Plus.
But isn't some
I
of
play
that
Sheila Rubin.
because I wouldn't call you the most supportive husband in the show.
Oh, yeah.
And you only
I'm
commit
always
to
in
your
character?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Instantly you've got sideburns again. Your beard's gone.
Oh, Danny Rubin.
But
Danny.
there's some of that, right? Where she's like, oh, this is all, I'll just do this myself.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the difference with Danny and Sheila is that they think they're presenting one thing to the world, that they're progressive and they're
yeah,
this
yeah.
and they're that. And really, it's like deeply traditional roles
Yeah.
at home behind the scenes.
And she
she's-
has a lot of anger.
And she's got so much anger and she's very secretive. And she's also like put all her eggs in the basket of Danny being a success because she believes in him and his intelligence. And yet he's like his own worst enemy and stuff. But this is interesting too, because whatever the strategy of her father is to keep her in these traditional roles or to belittle her, they haven't worked. Because she's just rebelled against him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like if
Yeah.
he's whatever method he's tried to do, like what an outlier for her to be able to live her life as a feminist and have a supportive husband and work and, all these things, like despite this kind of horrible blueprint of someone suppressing and repressing her.
Yeah.
There's an
It's like,
intense...
she's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
You
And,
know?
and also...
And
extraordinary...
and also to still have him in her life.
Well, that's what I mean.
Because
There's
she would have every right to be like, the boundaries,
Right.
I think
But I was going to ask you that. What do you do when you have all that anger? Because people go away. Well, when you're at their house, he's allowed to say what he wants to do. Things. Do you go as far to go, you know what? Maybe the 1 or 2 holidays I have to be there. But honestly, if they're like, come over for dinner, I'm just going to keep
And
going. Like, let's go out for dinner. So that you aren't kind of in the like under my roof. Is that an avenue to do to like deal with anger?
You start to set boundaries
and
for sure.
How much would you say? Let's go into the idea that she hasn't tried to have like a dad. Can I talk to you about the anger I have?
Yes.
How many times do you do that if it falls on deaf ears? But I think you have to go like, Dad, I'm angry with you. And he might be so confused as to why. That's kind of a wishful thinking maybe a little bit. But
But also there's a little bit of trauma there if you think about it, not just in the sense of like the influence, but when you talk about a parent, like even a parent that's like this and shitty, there's still an unconditional love that you don't control. And I guarantee you she still had there's probably moments where he was like something great or he did do something loving or caring. I don't get the impression that he was like, physically abusive or such a turnoff as a person to be around. So I bet you there's a great deal of trauma there in the sense of like, oh, I do unconditionally love this person and I don't know how to change them so that I can foster this love. Instead, I have to fight this unconditional love to be like, I know I have these feelings, but remember, this he's being a piece of shit, or he's saying these things that are fucking horrible, or he really thinks this, and that's not how we are. Like, I think it creates this hard internal conflict when it's, especially when it's a parent or a family member, where you don't have any control over that love you have for them. There's something you're born into that's just almost like, I don't know, burnt into your soul of how you feel about somebody, and you can't totally change it, even when they're fucking pieces of shit about something.
And sometimes you don't have it though.
Yeah.
Like
at all.
Speaking from personal experience, you don't have it. Like it's just, it's my mom, it's my grandma, it's my grandpa, it's my aunt, uncle.
Yeah.
And obviously other families too, but like that's the core.
Yeah.
And the relationship I didn't state there is one that I've never missed and I don't have.
I don't think you need to brag to Laura about that.
No, but I would say that there's things to mend in her scenario. There's nothing you can't mend a pair of jeans if they never existed.
Sure.
But I've always sort of been a fatherly figure to you.
Yes, of course. And I've asked you to keep that off mic, but if you want to bring it out,
Yeah, but I know people should know that I'm like kind of a giving guy like that.
Can I also just say, rudimentary, just like anytime you call a technical person and they go, well, is it plugged in, right? And you're like, of course it's fucking plugged in.
And then you look and you're like, it's not plugged in.
But I still want to just say, on a base level, just so that it is said, this is also like what therapy is very good for.
Without a doubt.
And
Yes,
maybe
yeah.
we're already doing that, and maybe she's already addressing that with her father.
Sure.
But just in the case of like he hasn't, you hear it a lot, which kind of ends up certainly in our circles and in more liberal cities. You hear it a lot, like, "Well, are you going to therapy? Have you tried therapy?"
Yeah.
And it almost becomes like a hack or cliche, but it doesn't change the reason it's that is because it's so true.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
If you aren't already, this is a lot, and you are not alone. This is a lot of what therapy is great for, is talking about anger that you carry or any sort of pain that you carry.
Yeah.
And being like, here's the deal. Some people go, well, I want to be able to talk to him about it. Sure, therapy could get you into a place where you know exactly how to talk to him about it, exactly what to say, exactly what you're really feeling, distilled down into maybe a special, not special, but an unfortunate moment or a time of trauma to where you go, oh, I don't want to just yell at my dad. I really want to talk about that 5th birthday when I remember him promising me he was going to be there and he wasn't. And every birthday after that was me doubting if he'd be there, and a lot of them he wasn't. So now you know what you want to say to a person when you go, I'm mad. Because the worst is, you guys deal with this with your children, I'm sure, I'm upset. About what? And they don't have, like, they can't express it to you.
Course,
and that's a child, but even as an adult, you want to be able to, like, have your stuff lined up so that if you do find that it would be healthy to talk to your father about all of your anger, you are coming at it from a place of, like, clearly being able to state it, which not only is good for you, but might be very good for them, and potentially gives you the greatest possible outcome, because you've put it so well. Exactly what you need here, exactly what you want to say, and exactly where you were hurt.
Yeah.
She's very specific about the anger thing, though. It's not like even repairing the relationship. It's just like, I am so angry.
Yeah, and what do you do with it, right? Isn't that what it was?
It is a toxic thing to carry around, and it's like, how does one do that? And you're right. I think therapy gives great ways to articulate that and to understand it and to.
I think that
and
the
be
one thing
allowed to be angry at them as well.
The one thing, and it might be near the final thing for me that I would say is, do you have any advice for letting go of anger about how you grew up? And I would say it's therapy, which I just said. But what I'll add to that is it's understanding that your letting go of the anger may never come along with that person telling you they're sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that your letting go will start with you and end with you, and there will be no like, you're right and I apologize or I don't think I'm going to change, but I do see what I did.
Can I say a point? Even if she did get that, the anger might not go away because it's in the blueprint of her growing up, and it's the blueprint of what So it's about that even if you do get the apology. You still feel the way you feel sometimes. And so it's
with grief or loss or anger or whatever might take a person to therapy. You maybe don't feel like you're getting any closer to letting it go, but at least once a week or once a month or once every 2 months, you have a place to put it.
Exactly.
Where I am releasing this steam valve to go, that made me so much mad, and now it's not coming out at work. And not that it is here in the scenario, but at least gives you a place to put it, even if you aren't at that moment being able to let it go.
Yeah. We had a guest on, Chris Garcia, a friend of ours, not that long ago, and he said something that I've thought about so much since then, is that our children are not extensions of us. They are human beings having their own unique experience as themselves in their lives, regardless of the fact that we share DNA, regardless of the fact that there's little ticks that have clearly been passed on or interests or whatever. They are their own selves. And I think you have to remember that the other direction as well, that just because, I think by all accounts, I'm probably fine saying this, just because your dad is a piece of shit, like you don't like him, you think he's a piece of shit, and you're saying, look, this is how he treated us. And I also just reminded myself from reading it.
I was really with you guys until you called my dad a piece of shit.
You don't talk to him like that. He's a good man. Like, you roped us in real good. But, basically saying he wasn't a parent to the sisters and I, when I was talking about the trauma and the unconditional love, but if he wasn't ever present as that person, and he wasn't that pillar that, that Daniel was also saying, a father, which is also so important. I think you have to remember it isn't your responsibility to repair this situation. It's not your responsibility to repair that person. And I think a great starting point is reminding yourself you are your own person, having your own unique experience, and try to see what you do have. What is your relationship like with your sisters? What is it like with your nieces? What is it like with your mother? What is it like with other members of your family? And don't give yourself the responsibility of having to change your dad, because he's maybe just not who you want him to be. And I'm not, not to defend him. Maybe you're not who he wants you to be. Sure. Maybe it's just not in the stars. It's just not in the stars. It's just not in the universe that you're meant to have this relationship that you do want to have. I think therapy, no matter what, even if you think you're in the best shape ever and you have great relationships, I think therapy is a great option to have. And I think that potentially, look at the positive that you do have and try to release yourself of the responsibility of saying, well, I want my dad to be this person. Right. Sometimes it's not. And if you do think there is something that you need to say to your dad, then I think you go to therapy or really consult with yourself, dig deep, and figure out what it is you want to say and how you want to say it, and let them know what is wrong. Because I say that because maybe you wake somebody up. Maybe your dad goes, fuck.
Or
maybe your dad looks at you and goes, you know who hates me more than you? Me. And you go, all right, then this is day one. Let's fucking
also, Rory,
stop degrading women. Stop making sexist comments. Stop talking like this in front of your nieces. Stop setting a standard that's unrealistic, and start to live in the modern, real fucking world and have compassion for your family members who are women. It sounds like there's a lot of women in his life. Like, there should be enough there to go, I'm not paying attention. I'm just not paying. I'm refusing to listen.
Right. Also, Rory, to out you, but not really, because you've outed
Dude,
yourself.
out me, dude.
You're speaking as a person who knows. Your thing wasn't anger.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of conversations that you thought might have been awkward that you're like, well, I can't fucking say that to my dad anymore.
Yeah, of course.
And
I think it's important to go when you have
talked
this
about
opportunity
that
to say it.
publicly, but it's you're speaking from firsthand experience.
Yes.
Of like you might not know the answer you're gonna get. It might be kind of a weird conversation, but as somebody who's on the other side of it, I know what it feels like to never get to have that conversation.
Yes, and also don't feel like you are owed or your dad is owed or not owed any kind of a conversation. It is what it is. But if you are writing this letter and you do, Laura, if you do feel like there is some part of you that's like, I don't know, I kind of want to express myself and say something, I think it is worth doing it under the acceptance that you may not get what you want out of it, good or bad. Things might stay exactly the same. Or you might hear someone get really angry and tell you shit that makes you even more upset. But that's just reality. There's reactions to every action. So, yeah, good luck. I got to say, it's a tough...
It is.
tough.
It's heavy. That's heavy, but...
Well, I'm glad you're in it. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah,
if you have that
yeah.
conversation, we would love to hear it because we care. We're
Record-
not professionals,
record the
but
conversation.
We're
We
not
mean
professional. Just to be
but
clear,
we
no
care.
one here is
But
a
we do mean
professional
record the
psychologist.
conversation on your phone so we can
Oh
play
yeah,
it.
then send us that. That'll be a whole episode. We'll just hit play. We'll just play the theme song,
and then
go
we
right
will
into
back
that.
up.
We will
and then we will back up.
You have.
We
the
will
room.
sing along to the theme song,
Right.
and then play
We
a
will
very dramatic.
I'll come back.
Yeah, we'll have Rose
I'll
talk
come back in.
afterwards.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
she'll do
yeah.
a postmortem
Yeah.
of like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
everybody just heard and how she feels about
This is
it.
what on today's very special pen pals. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
trusting us with this. We hope everything works out for you. And most importantly, we wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Daniel Van Scovel.
Rory Van Kirk and
Mary Rose Byrne.
Love it.
It is so not about the dog.
Right? Am I right?
It is not about the dog.
Ready? That is the main difference between men and women. Because I think you are right that it isn't about the dog. But as a man, I'm just like, this dude loves his dog. I think it's about the woman. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.